Hey, good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome to the Volquest Mailbag Podcast. I'm Eric Kane alongside Austin Price and Brent Hubbs here this morning. I got a lot of questions to get into, and we'll start with Orangeceltic and Sam Smith 2233. Very similar questions, so I kind of put them together here. How does the House settlement impact Vol baseball roster for 2026? It's going to be interesting, Brent and Austin. We kind of talked about this on Tuesday. I do think that there's a lot of questions that we don't have the answers for in terms of I think coaches around the country have been talked about this there's that phrase again, this grandfathered in approach about how they can keep some guys on the roster, but I don't think they know how many that means, what that means in terms of that they have NIL compensation if they count against the 34 scholarship or whatever their scholarship number is. What's the number for fall? When does it have to get down to 34? Is that February 1st? Is that December the 1st? I think there's a lot of questions here in terms of at least baseball specific, but to answer your question, you're going from a roster for Tennessee that had 51 players total on the baseball team this year. Now remember, 40 were on the active roster, and then of course that cuts down for SEC. But you're going to 34, and then maybe a couple walk-ons, and that's your roster for fall. That's your roster for spring, and they're going to be all scholarships. So it's going to considerably shrink your numbers. But Tennessee's going to do full scholarship or nearly full scholarship for baseball. So that's kind of the biggest difference. But of course, like a lot of other sports, and this is the developing story in terms of the House settlement. There's still a lot of questions.
Well, I think the challenge, Austin, for all sports is just going to be practice management. How do you handle practicing? Basketball is going up in numbers. They're going to 15, but they're losing some walk-ons, right? So that's going to affect them. They're going to basically have three teams. 3 5-man teams out there if you're 100% healthy. Football is going to go from 125 to 105 at some point. So you're down 20 practice players there. And then baseball is going to be down nearly 20 practice players as well. I think the biggest challenge has nothing to do with competition on game day and putting your team out there to play and having depth for that. I think the bigger question is how do you manage practice with your teams in those sports?
Yeah, and for football, they're going from 85 to 105 in terms of scholarships. And so, what does that look like? What you're going to lose is some of your old traditional walk-ons. But with going from 85 to 105, I do think you have a chance to, take the chance on an in-state kid that maybe you think probably is at a, maybe a notch down level-wise, but you think he has enough traits to maybe be something more in the future. And so you have a chance to kind of, take the developmental route. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they all manage it because as Eric talked about earlier in the week, Tony loves to do a lot of full-scale scrimmages in the fall, and you can't do that as much when you're down 17 or 18 players.
And remember, a lot of those 34 are pitchers, and a lot of those pitchers are going to, pitch on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday in the fall. So it's going to be very unique to decipher practice, as Brent kind of pointed out, not just for baseball, but for all sports. Let's go to Nashville 615. Is there anything that can be done to combat the unlimited transfer? It seems like that is a much bigger issue than NIL payments. Brent, of all the things in the spring meetings a couple weeks ago, it felt like the league universally wants to get rid of the spring transfer portal window.
It does, and I think that would help, with some of the movement, although it doesn't affect SEC to SEC. I think the question about unlimited transfers is, can you win a court battle in that deal? Because what you would like to do is you would like to give everybody – I would like to see everybody get a one-time, hey, I screwed up. I made a bad choice. I want to go somewhere else. All right, you can walk there that's fine. You can go there, be eligible immediately. Then after that, you have to set. This idea that somebody plays at 6 schools in 5 years, or 6 schools in 4 years, I don't think it's healthy for the game. I don't think it's healthy for the student athlete. I just don't think it is. Sometimes you got to fight through some stuff. Again, sometimes you make a mistake, right? You can take a chance and it didn't work. I'm okay with a guy making a one-time move and being eligible immediately, Austin. After that, I got issues with guys making the moves that they're making where you're having to re-recruit a guy every offseason, or that guy's going to a new place every offseason. I just don't think it's good. I don't think it's good for anybody involved.
Well, I don't think it teaches them good lessons. It's no other than a high school kid who now has bounced around and is on his 3rd or 4th high school in 4 years. You're setting that kid up for, well, he thinks it's okay just to bounce around all the time. And you can bounce around everything in your life. And, I don't think that's healthy either. So I'm not saying you got to be a lifer But at the same time, like I think teaching kids that they got to push through. When things get tough, they don't just get to run every time. It's not a college sports lesson; it's a life lesson.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, and what are we teaching young people when we say, well, again, failed the math homework, I'm out. Girlfriend broke up with me, I'm out. Broke a hangnail, I'm out.
Well, sports is supposed to be a trickle down effect, but you actually have, Eric, to some degree, a trickle up effect because of the unlimited transfer deal. You see this in youth sports, even before they get to high school. Timmy played on 6 travel baseball teams in 5 years, because he didn't like or didn't get what they wanted or whatever the case may be, and they bounced around somewhere. Now you're able to do that as you get older and older, which is, I don't think it's the greatest lesson. I think it's a poor lesson to teach people.
No, I mean, I completely agree with you guys. It's just not sustainable in the long run. I mean, we sit there and like we're, week 2, week 3 of the season or week 8, week 9, and we make jokes and we're like, that guy's getting a raise. That guy doesn't deserve a raise, but he's going to demand a raise. It's like the re-recruiting, Brent, you just said, of the re-recruiting your roster every single year. It's just not sustainable. And so, man, I hope that gets changed here soon. The league seems unified on that.
Vol fans trying to figure it out who Timmy's a metaphor for.
We didn't play travel baseball, so it's not me.
Another one here from Nashville 615. Young players are starting for the first time. We've got tons of unknowns at offensive line, running back, quarterback, wide receiver, edge, and safety. Some of these groups are going to be hits. Some of these groups will be misses. Which groups are you most confident and least confident in that can play at an all SEC level?
That's a good question. I like this question.
I am very confident in the offensive line. Very confident in the offensive line.
Yeah, you're bullish on that group. You've been bullish. I'll give you credit. You've been bullish on them for a while now. To me, the safe route to say is running back, because I think Peyton Lewis has shown you enough. I think Deshaun Bishop has shown you enough that those guys are SEC caliber backs. Now, they're different than what they've had in the past in some ways, but I think the easy, safest answer for me is to say running backs.
I would go running back then offensive line. If I'm rating these, I go running back, offensive line, edge.
The one I have to see is receiver.
Yeah, quarterback, receiver, they're kind of together.
I think they could absolutely be better than they were a year ago. I do think deep down they're a more talented unit athletically than they were a year ago. But they've not shown. And so until they show, it's kind of hard for me to be like, oh, yeah, I've got full faith in them. I mean, I just, Wendell Moy has shown at Arizona. Kevin Pendleton or Sam Pendleton, even before he, got demoted, played well enough to show at Notre Dame. Like, the receivers for me haven't shown anything because they're either true freshmen or redshirt freshmen, so to speak, or played very little last year and ended up as sophomores. That's the group that I've got to see it to understand it better.
Got to see it to believe it. We'll go to Athrun. How much hay is going to be in the barn by August in terms of commitments?
All right, AP, give me over under. What do we got?
Should be a lot. I mean, I just don't see a bunch of kids going deep into the fall. Now, again, there's a notion out there that Savion Hyder is going to wait until September. And if that happens, then, who knows what happens over the next couple of months in his recruitment. But I just think most kids are going to take these visits the next couple of weekends, and then they'll start, coming off the board in June and July. And so that's kind of been the model that, the previous couple of classes have worked off of. I don't see any reason why that would not be the case this year.
How many baseball Vols will be lost to the transfer portal? I had a list over here a moment ago, but I'll do this off the top of my head.
Wait a minute. He says the draft.
What'd I say? Portal?
Transfer portal, yeah.
Draft, thank you. Draft. Liam Doyle, okay? Then you got Gavin Keelan, Andrew Fisher, Marcus Phillips, Dean Curley, A.J. Russell, Tanner Franklin, Nate Snead, Brandon Arvinson. That's 9. I think Cannon Peebles gets drafted. That's 10. And I honestly think Dalton Bargo and Reese Chapman, they would get drafted. It's a question of would they want to go. And I think they want to go because you lose all your leverage. So I'm thinking Tennessee's going to have about 12.
And that doesn't count signing class.
That does not count signing class.
Is there anybody that would not lose the leverage? or is that just a given?
No, I mean it's if you decide to come back. I mean, Dean Curley would come back and he would be a junior, but still, like, you still lose a little bit of leverage if you didn't want to go as a sophomore if you're old enough. So
you don't see anybody being a Hunter Inslee.
No, not really. I mean, again, like Dalton Bargo and Reese Chapman would kind of be in that category.
Right.
Cannon Peebles, but I mean, I think all those three guys are going to go and start their professional careers. As of right now, things can always change.
Sure.
But I don't see anything. I don't see a Hunter Inslee in that group that I just kind of mentioned right there. You got to remember too, Hunter came back to play a 5th year, so like he was already a 4-year guy too. So the leverage that he didn't have as much to begin with, if that makes sense, because he was already a 4-year guy. The signing class. There's going to be a question about the signing class here in a moment, but by Baseball America, Tennessee has 17 of the top 200, guys in the class, or prospects in the MLB draft, which is just wild. Tennessee's going to lose at least 5 to the draft, but somebody will ask that in a moment. We'll get to it later. So there's going to be a lot of stories to write for the Major League Baseball draft. Can you discuss the wins made overall in the analyst hires for football this offseason?
Austin, I think it's probably the best work Josh Heupel's done in the offseason. When you look at, again, I applaud him for going the direction that I think everybody probably should be going, and I hate to say that for young guys trying to get going in coaching, and there's paths to get going in coaching, but those analyst roles are not for the learn on the job anymore, because all those guys are on the field and can coach. I mean, Tennessee's better because Alan Williams is coaching safeties and Tim Banks is getting to walk around. They're going to be better with Marion Hobby. They're better in special teams. Seth Luttrell's making them better. So I think it's a win, the 4 people that they brought into those roles, whether it's analysts or assistant line coach or whatever you're calling it title-wise. I think those are wins, AP, because it helps your development of players, because those guys aren't developing as coaches. They're developing players because they're already developed coaches.
Correct, and they've done it. They've done it at the NFL level. I mean, look at Marion Hobby. I mean, he's been on a handful of NFL teams. He started as a strength and conditioning coach, worked his way up. Cutcliffe gave him his first chance to be a D-line coach at Ole Miss when he went to Ole Miss in '98 for that 99 season. And then, I mean, same thing with Alan Williams has been in the NFL. Bonamago's been a head coach, and then Seth Luttrell's been a head coach, an OC. Just a lot of experience, and that stuff matters because they can see things, and they have real life experience at different levels to be able to draw from. And I think it's priceless.
I think it's also important to remember as well, like, from a fan's perspective, that might be aggravated or something else, the same old. There's no changes or anything. With the value put on these analyst roles now, with all the guys you just laid out and all that experience, I mean, Josh Heupel relies on those guys, not just for stuff in the meeting room, but also, hey, I'm a head coach. You've been a head coach before. How do I go about this? Jerry Mack helped them with that a little bit. I mean, I think that's really, really important. So just because, like, there might not be changes on the quote-unquote on-the-field staff, I think the entire staff, the off-the-field, the analyst roles have really, really done well this offseason. I think Josh Heupel's done a good job, making a couple of really good hires.
Well, remember this: everybody's on the field staff. There's no such thing as an off the field staff. And I tell you, I mean, Seth Luttrell is nice for the offense. I'm super impressed with what Tim Banks has done by going out and getting experienced guys. I mean, it shows how comfortable he is with where he's at and how much he's trying to get better. I mean, he loves coaching safeties, right? He's brought in Alan Williams to help in the secondary. I just think that they've made a commitment to get better across the board, starting with Josh Heupel allowing these hires or helping make these hires. I think it's going to pay dividends for Tennessee.
When do you see the next commit jumping in the boat?
Sooner rather than later, Eric Kenny.
At the time of this recording, as I always love to say, sooner rather than later. RWDYvawl, if Osenda, Blare, Anderson, Smith, Baker, and Gray all want in, do we take that many, or is there only 4, maybe 5 spots to fill on the O-line class?
Well, one, I don't think they would all come. I don't think that combination of guys would all come, just based off of the fact that most of those guys are tackles. There's maybe 1 or so that could be interior guys, but. Yeah, I mean, I think if that collection of guys wanted to come, I think Tennessee would figure out a way. But again, I don't see that collection being willing to be like, oh yeah.
TMini, Will the House settlement affect the current football roster at all? We kind of spoke on this in a moment. The current one, no, because it's going to take place after this year. If it takes place in December, do you know if this will affect bowl eligibility playoff teams? No, it would be it'd be a completely new season. I mean, just because if things have to be ready to roll by December the 1st, that doesn't take into place these teams going to the college football playoff or bowl games or conference championships or anything like that. It would be next year.
You're not changing the rules in the middle of the game.
Yeah.
You got to finish the season with the current rules that you start the season.
Runnervol, Brent Hubbs, what is collective bargaining and how will it affect NIL?
Well, right now it's a pipe dream. We'll see if it ever gets there. I mean, the idea with collective bargaining is, you're unionized, they're employees of the school in some capacity, and it would it would be more of the salary cap deal. Here's the fascinating thing about NIL, and this is going to be the hard part. And I've spoke about this, Austin. We've all of us have spoke about this. It's so hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube, and that's what they're trying to do with this commission NIL Go, arm where everything has to get approved. You've spent the last, AP, 4 years, 3 years, having not approved, doing anything you want to do. And now all of a sudden you're going to say, well, we have to approve all these NIL deals when you haven't had to approve stuff in the past. So now you're really going to take money away from people. That's what's going to spur the lawsuit. The reality is this NIL arm should have been in place from day one. It wasn't because the NCAA was banking on the courts taking care of them. They didn't. They went wild, wild west. Now you're trying to control it, and it's going to be hard to deal with. That's the hard part with NIL is how do you ever manage it that way? Could collective bargaining end NIL? No, I mean, and not in its truest form. The problem is NIL is not in its truest form, right, AP? It's not name, image, likeness. It's just we're called. It's pay for play. We just haven't called it that. I mean, there's not a bunch of people out there peddling products. And how much availability is that for guys to make money that way at the college level? How much NIL money is there really out there that's legit marketing money versus, hey, we're just paying this kid to come to be here. Now you're trying to go from not just paying that kid to be there. It's hard to put that toothpaste back in the tube.
Well, it's also hard to justify, like, let's say, I think somebody gave me the stat, and I've not looked it up to see if it's accurate or not, but somebody said that Mahomes made like $8 or $9 million last year in marketing dollars per year. Like, and maybe I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe it's more. I don't know. But if that's accurate, how do you? If Patrick Mahomes, the dude's won 3 Super Bowls, is only getting that amount, and was one of the faces of the NFL, then how can you justify giving, the quarterback of the Miami Hurricanes $4 or $5 million in marketing deals?
Yeah. So the collective bargaining would make it a true salary, not a rev share. It would be a true salary deal. We'll see if it ever gets to that point.
You're right. Again, it's like having in so many ways, it was like you had a wild tiger as a pet, and you had him caged, and then you put him out in the wild, and he got to run free and do whatever he wants to, and now you're trying to catch him again. Like, good luck to that. Like, they've let this thing. Their decisions on the front end are the reason that there are no parameters on the back end.
Yeah, and now the problem is, I mean, this controlling arm with the college commission is telling people at conference meetings 70 to 80% of the deals would be kicked out. Oh man, I mean that's got lawsuit written. I mean that's got multiple lawsuits written all over it. Are you really going to put again? You're going to try to put it back in the tube, I think, or catch the tiger, as you said. It's going to be really hard to do. I like the tiger analogy, by the way. It was good.
Well, I was going to go with like something like a shark, but you don't have a shark as a pet, So it was much easier to. And you don't have really a tiger as a pet either. But sometimes you have zebras on the loose for days and days and days.
You ever seen the Tiger King?
Back home.
It all rescued us in 2020 for a couple of weeks. I mean, the Tiger King, like there's people out there that have pets as tigers as pets. So
Hey, you got the tiger by the tail, Hurricane.
I was thinking of The Hangover with Mike Tyson and his pet tiger. That's what I was thinking of whenever you were doing that analogy.
I was thinking about you with a facial tattoo.
Oh yeah, because we can see that. What do tigers dream of? That's what I want to know. Any updates on JP Estrella's rehab and now JP Estrella's rehab now that the team is working out?
Yeah, I mean, they're being cautious with him. I mean, he's doing things. I mean, I think he's done well, but they're not turning him loose. They're going to be very cautious with him and make sure, they need him to be ready to go, come the fall. Now he's working, and it's not like he's just sitting on the sidelines watching. He is working and doing drills, but they're being cautious with him. They're not overdoing it or putting him in a bad situation. So that'll be the way it goes with him probably most of the summer.
UT Chuck 54, how is Tennessee getting away on paying such low amounts of NIL money? Looking on the NIL chart, they look like they're getting guys for next to nothing. Have a basketball player at $1.4 million as our highest paid player.
Well, that last part's not accurate. I mean, Ament's going to make more than that, right, AP?
Correct. I mean, Ament's making more than 1.4. Jacoby Gillespie. I mean, correct.
I mean, I don't think Tennessee is paying this low amount of money. I mean, I think Tennessee, as Danny White likes to say, is a part of the haves, not the have-nots. I think they're spending quite a bit of money in NIL across the board in all sports.
Zjsvols. AP has reported that Joel Wyatt doesn't really want to play Leo, but Tennessee is recruiting him as such. Does Wyatt have a preferred position? Why would he not entertain having an elite athlete as a jumbo safety, considering we have recruited the Leo really, really well as of late?
I'm not saying he doesn't want to play. I don't know that he does. Like he certainly feels like when he talks, he shies away from the Leo talk. But is non-committal on some of that stuff. There's some questions like, I just don't answer that. Where does Tennessee stand? I don't want to answer that. You can't say they're top 3, top 5. He just doesn't want to talk about it. I think position stuff is something he doesn't want to talk about either, because ultimately he knows that he may be getting, thought of in a certain regard, but maybe he doesn't see himself or can't see himself in that regard because he's not done it a whole lot. Now, he played some edge last year at the high school level.
Said maybe I missed this months ago, but Rodney Dunham committing to Notre Dame out of nowhere. Any chance for visits this fall, or are they going to be focusing on landing one of Hez, Wyatt, or Gaines?
Yep, there you go. Tristan Givens, Hezekiah Harris, J.J. Finch, Joel Wyatt. I won't say moved on from Rodney Dunham. I think Rodney Dunham just kind of, when he committed, he was a different type of kid. Whereas Tristan Keys, when he committed to LSU, you always knew he was more than likely going to take visits. It was the opposite with Dunham. When he committed to Notre Dame, you always knew that he probably wasn't going to take visits. And to this point, and a couple of weeks ago, it doesn't look like he's going to.
Volken at Tennessee, what sports, male or female, has adjusted best to the new climate of college sports? Transfer portal, name, image, and likeness, pay for play.
For me, it's basketball. And I'm not saying other sports have done poorly, but I think Rick Barnes' adaptation to the transfer portal has, particularly for a guy who's coached as long as he has, Austin, I think they probably have made as good a use of it. I think Tony Vitello's made a good use of the transfer portal too. When you look at it, just look who he had this year. His best players were transfers. So I think he's done a good job with the portal. But for me, it's probably basketball would be the first one that jumps out to me, just because Rick's kind of you thought of as a regimented guy and the old school ways, and he's been very open to the new way of college basketball.
Yeah, I do think Rick has really morphed, right? When it first started, I think he was, I won't say against it, but he didn't want to talk about it. He wanted no part of it.
Fair. Yep.
And at one point, even a couple of years ago, I think he because of the whole chemistry, team bonding, wanted them all to make similar money, right? He didn't want somebody being up here and then here and here and here and here. Now it's like, all right, that's how it's going to be played. That's how we do it. Okay, let's roll. And that's why you see Nate Ament getting, the amount of money he got, Jacoby Gillespie getting the amount of money he got, and so on and so forth.
I know we say this all the time, and we don't have to spend time going through each and every single player from every sport, but Tennessee as a whole, there's been some misses, sure, but I mean, we talk about this. Football has benefited from the transfer portal so much over the last, 5-6 years. Even, prior to Heupel with Hendon Hooker, being a commit via the portal from Virginia Tech. I think football's done well. Basketball's done well, reasons you guys pointed out. Baseball, again, I mean, go back to the last couple of years and some of the better players and what they brought to the table. So
look what Kim did. She was able to keep the streak of making the tournament alive when she was left with basically an empty cupboard when she got here because of her ability to go out and get Spencer from Arkansas and to get, a couple other really key transfers along the way. And she's done that this year as well.
Yeah, here's the other thing, too, I think you have to look at when you look at this. It's not just acquisition, it's retention, okay? And I think when you look at it in this landscape, Tennessee has done a good job.
Yes.
And I know fans get frustrated. Well, wait a minute. Why are we not spending more money in the portal and this, that? Name a guy in the sport that you lost. I guess what? Burns in baseball, really talented player, but they didn't miss a beat. I mean, they went on and won without him. But, you look across the board, how many players can you say in each sport going, man, what a critical loss they had to the portal because they couldn't keep somebody. Okay, we'll see how Nico plays at UCLA. That's the most high-profile one we know. But over the course of this, they have retained more than they have lost in terms of key components. You can't make that case for everybody around the country.
Well, and name somebody. I'm only even going to throw in the 21 year, which is when Jeremy got fired and Josh came in, and you had all the Keyshawn Lawrences and the Henry Totos and all those leave. Tell me who ended up better in the grand scheme of things when they left here. Tell me something. Henry was the only one you can argue, but by year 2, Tennessee beat Alabama. Everybody else, I don't tell you, you can't argue that they ended up in a better situation. Maybe individually, running back went to North Carolina, plays for the Vikings, Chandler. Yeah. Maybe individually he ended up in a better place, but from a team standpoint, I'm going to say he did not. And so, like you brought up Burns, like he ended up going to Wake Forest. That did not benefit him from a team standpoint. Maybe individually he got the pitching lab and all that nonsense, and it helped him tremendously. I'm going to still say no, it didn't. His arm talent was his arm talent before he went to Wake Forest.
Well, it's funny. He spoke to the Chattanooga Times Free Press recently about just that, which was an interesting quote there. But it's funny.
What did he say? Because I don't even know. Go ahead, fill me in as we're doing this live on.
Yeah, I guess it was when he was in Knoxville last week, pitching for the Lookouts, and it was a 7-inning doubleheader, and he bounced through a perfect game. It was a really good outing. He was asked about Tennessee winning the national championship, and he said a lot. He's like, I'm so happy for them. They deserve it. Those guys work hard. Da 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 da. But and then everybody takes this next part of the quote where he's like, I had to make the right decision for me. I did what was best for me. I'm glad I did what I did. I'm looking at a 15 to 20 year MLB career. I had to do, essentially saying I had to get mine. He went and got his. Wake Forest didn't make it out of a regional. Tennessee went on and won a national championship. Chase Burns, a great pitcher. He was selected, number 2, 3 overall. He's knocked on the doorstep of Major League Baseball right now. So it looked like as of now it's worked out for all parties, but it certainly worked out for Tennessee.
He basically said it wasn't about winning a championship for him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was, I think that's the crux of what everybody took from the quote was basically, that's great they won, but that wasn't my focus. Basically, my focus was getting myself to the draft, putting myself in a position to be the highest drafted. They won it. That's great. I'm happy for them. But it ain't no skin off my back that we didn't win it because he wasn't worried about winning a national title. He was worried about getting to the major leagues.
Yeah,
everybody's got to look out for themselves. That's the way you could read the quote, and that's what a lot of people took from it.
He was only a me guy in that situation. Yeah.
Complete
off topic here. Say what?
I said that's the way the quote came across. Yeah. I don't know if he meant it that way, but that's the way it came across.
Complete off topic here. Like I view Ty Chandler as different than all those other guys in that class, and maybe it can AP you might disagree or whatever, and that's fine. But like Ty Chandler used his COVID extra year after playing 4 years and graduating at Tennessee. And you're right, he went on to Carolina and did a really good job, and he's still in the NFL. I view him in a different arena than that of the Lawrences, the Tuos, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, and maybe, but again, like he individually, maybe he benefited. He went over there, he ran for over 1,000 yards, had a really good year at North Carolina. But from a team standpoint, there's nobody that's left in any particular sport where you're like, man, they bettered themselves from a team standpoint. Now, maybe individually, a few of them may have benefited. I still don't know if Henry really benefited from going to Alabama any more than he would have been here. I certainly don't think the Oklahoma kids did, or anybody that's left since then. And I don't think Nico's went to a better place where he's going to better himself, for the NFL and for the future and all that. I think they just made an irrational decision at the time, and is what it is.
What UT sport is poised to benefit from the new climate of college sports in the coming years?
I think we're already in the climate. I think now it's the next wave, and that's the roster deal. How do you manage the roster? What happens if NIL really gets curtailed? What does that look like? I think the next climate and the next question is which schools, not just which sport, which schools around the program find ways to continue to spend $25 million on football when the rev share splits 13 and this controlling arm says, we're going to limit all this and we're going to really be hardcore on how much NIL, what's a true NIL deal and what's not a true NIL deal. Are we going back under the table with some stuff? How does that going to work? I think that's the next step in college sports, not for an individual sport, but for college sports. It's how do you continue to keep your roster salary number higher than the rev share number, which is what everybody around the country is trying to figure out right now. And if anybody says they're not telling you the truth, Austin.
Correct. It's all about it's the old Jurassic Park. Life finds a way, and college coaches find a way better than most. So they're all kind of trying to figure out how can we do this to be able to justify it to the what do you call it, the arm or whatever you called it earlier. I mean, to where this stuff gets it passes the mustard, so to speak, and can get passed through so they can go above the said cap.
Which sport college-wide will be most changed in the coming years by the new rules? Maybe it's recency bias, but I'm still going to say baseball. I think baseball roster management-wise is going to see the biggest change of any sports.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it's baseball. I think it's also a question on where's the financing for baseball? How much money is involved in baseball? When you look at the rev share dollar figures and then trying to get NIL money in there as well. I think baseball is the one that everybody's trying to figure out what that's going to look like next.
It's the Vanderbilt bowling team.
And there's a lot of great in there too. I mean, baseball is going to be fully funded. I mean, that's awesome because baseball's never ever been close to being fully funded. So that's really cool. But also, your roster is going to shrink. Vol by Grace, what team outside the Big Four conferences do you like to see win for no apparent reason? Seems like everyone has one of those teams. For me, it's Wyoming, and I really can't explain why. But every time I see them on the bottom line, I hope they win. Anybody got one of those teams?
I don't really have one of those teams.
I would say, I would never go outside the Big Four conferences because I don't know why you would. And for you, it's got to be Carson Newman here.
I don't see Carson Newman on the bottom ticker though.
I personally, it's hard for me to dislike people from Wisconsin. So I kind of like to see Wisconsin be pretty good in the Big Ten and boast anything. So
I was going to say that's inside the Big Four, obviously. But my wife and her family are from Wisconsin. They're all big Wisconsin fans, or her mom is, and so the oftentimes I'm home on a Saturday or whatever, and we're not working or doing something. I mean, we're watching Wisconsin, so there's been some great running backs out of Wisconsin.
Boston College. I'd love to see. I'd still love to go up there for a game. But,
and maybe it's because he stayed when he's had every opportunity to leave. I kind of got an appreciation for Mark Few at Gonzaga. Seems like a nice guy. I don't know him at all. Seems like a nice guy. He's had every opportunity to go to whatever bigger name school he wanted to go to, and he's elected to stay in Gonzaga. So, I got a lot of respect for Mark Few from that standpoint. But I don't have a school I pull for some strange apparent reason. I don't have an affinity for anybody like that. I guess I don't watch enough games.
I mean, now that Vince Morrow's at Louisville, definitely Louisville. That guy. GM. He's been negotiating those deals over there in Kentucky with Mark Stoops in his office. Now he's going to be negotiating them at Louisville.
Hate to see it, right? Hate to see it. Which of the following will win a natty first? Football, men's basketball, women's basketball, baseball, or softball? Call your shot.
Yeah, let's call your shot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm big on calling my shot. That's what I do.
Nobody will never see another one.
I'm not. All right, you call your shot, AP.
I mean, softball made it farther than anybody. So,
Did we have baseball in there? Or did we get?
Yep, baseball,
Baseball's in there.
softball. Kim, Rick, Josh.
I'm going with all of the above in the next calendar year. You know, I would go baseball again just because I think, even though Hubs is right, that sport's hard to win in. I just think that Tony kind of, as long as he's here and continues to recruit the way he is driven to recruit, they're always going to be in the mix. And the more you can knock on the door, the better chance to knock the door down.
Tony loves recruiting, and he's got two guys on his staff that absolutely love recruiting, and Josh Eland and Ross Kivett. So those three together, they make up a pretty powerful team. I am 410 EC wants to know, where is the strangest or most surprising place? I was reading this last night. I'm like, AP, this is the AP question. This is the AP question. Strangest or most surprising place that you've been recognized outside of East Tennessee?
You know, I can go a lot of places, Subs, and it's weird. Like, you got recognized at the museum up in New York City, where the night at the museum was filmed. I got recognized at the swim up bar in Cabo on my honeymoon. I mean, I got recognized.
What a flex.
In Maine at a lighthouse on some rocks we'd climbed down on. I can keep going. Like, it's very strange. Like, and I'm a nobody. So it's very strange. But what it tells me, though, is all you guys are everywhere. Ball fans are everywhere.
I don't go anywhere, so I don't have any great stories. Right, AP?
This is true. You really don't. But
That's
you
the
still
best
get
answer. You haven't been anywhere? You haven't been anywhere you've been recognized?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know right off the top of my head. I mean, I'm Disney World. And,
There you go.
you know, I've been recognized at the beach. You know, I got recognized at a Chick-fil-A in the middle of Alabama one morning on the way to the beach, which was kind of entertaining. And, but yeah, I mean, random place. Nothing as cool as a swim-up bar in Cabo or a lighthouse in Maine. Let's put it that way.
The lighthouse in Maine is the best answer here.
And the best part is I had a hat, sunglasses. I mean, like, you know me, I am always in a polo, but on these vacations, I've been wearing T-shirts because, you know, my sister gives me such a hard time about always looking like I'm going to play golf. So, I mean, I'm like dressed unlike me. And literally, it was like within 3 seconds, this guy's like, boom. And I'm like, wow. And I'll say this. A la Murata happened back when I took my wife down there for her 40th birthday back in April. It was a Volquester, though. So just so happened he saw me from 40 or 50 feet away and came over and introduced himself.
Mine was City Field in New York, so just short and sweet there.
Look at you. You're big time too, Kane. But was it from Locked On or Volquest?
Both, man. It's the brand.
Rivalry Thursday. They know you from Rivalry Thursday.
Playoff Friday, too. Don't forget.
Hey, he wore one of those Packer NASCAR shirts with the logo there that everybody could recognize.
Yeah. Everybody saw exactly who I was. Okay. We'll go. See, is Coach Hobby the heir apparent to Coach Garner, or is Coach Hobby not focused on being a position coach or coordinator at this stage in his career?
You know, no one knows. Who knows how long Rodney coaches? I think that Coach Heupel saw this as an opportunity, and Rodney and he are, you know, have known each other since they were kids, having grown up 14 miles apart between Irondale and Leeds. And I think this was just an opportunity to improve your staff, Brent. I don't think this was like, hey, let's bring this guy on because Coach Garner may retire.
No, and Rodney was the catalyst for this deal too.
Yes,
I mean, Rodney pushed hard for this. This is where Rodney wanted to go when an opportunity presented itself, and it presented itself when Robert Ayers went to Tampa and went into the NFL world. And this was a no-brainer for Rodney Garner. This was a one phone call and done deal in his mind, and it's what it ended up being. It was one phone call and done.
All right, here's the one about the baseball signees in terms of the Major League Baseball draft. CPThompson ranked these commits on the chance to make it to campus. Okay, so
53, 46, 74 and 12.
He left out a couple that are absolutely going to be gone. Like he didn't put Billy Carlson on here. He's gone. He didn't put the big lefty. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now, but he's gone. Schoolcraft. There we go. Schoolcraft. He's gone. He put Steele Hall on here. Steele Hall is going to be gone. Appenzeller, big lefty. He's going to be gone. I think Ethan Moore is a draft guy. He's not. He's still ranked high, don't get me wrong, but I don't. He's not ranked as high as some of these guys. But I think he's just a guy that, in my opinion, that wants to go to the draft, that wants to go ahead and start his professional career. So of the guys you mentioned, you put Grindlinger here too, and he's a catcher. He's top 200 draft prospect, top 30 in this class. I think unless there's just an overwhelming number, I think he wants to be here. He's got some connections at the South. I think he wants to play college baseball. So of the guys that the poster mentions here, Grindlinger, the catcher that Tennessee late add in the 25 class, I'd put him number 1 of getting to campus. Tracy would be number 2, and then I guess I'd go Moore 3, Appenzeller 4, and Hall 5. But I think 4 of your 5 that you mentioned here, or 4 of the 6 you mentioned here, are probably gone to the draft, in my opinion.
I don't even know who they are. Kudos to those guys. And kudos for knowing who they are and what the percentages were that are going to make the game.
They are very good baseball players. So yeah, good for them. BBall, talk me off the ledge here. For whatever reason, I'm having trouble getting pumped about this football team. It feels like the season's going to be a bit of a reset.
See, I'm the exact opposite. I love the unknowns. I mean, yeah, the Vols could end up falling a little flat, but they could also be better than everybody thinks. There's an unknown. It's like watching a movie and not knowing how the ending is going to go, right? Like you can maybe think but you don't know, and all of a sudden you get a curveball or two. Like there's to me that's exciting. I'm more excited to go to fall camp this year, and you all know that I hate the 30-day grind to fall camp. I'm more excited for fall camp and the season than I have been in a while, just because of the unknown.
Tennessee hadn't played a football game since the middle of December. I mean, how do you not get excited about another football game showing up? I mean, I understand that I'm with you. I mean, I think unknowns are cool and there's storylines, and we'll see. But I mean, it's still college football. Like it's everything you grew up loving. It doesn't have to be the perfect season every year for it to be an enjoyable season. And just, I mean, think back to how many years were not a reset, it was a rebuild, or you went, oh, okay, they're going to go to Oregon and they're going to lose 63-3 because they have no shot. Or Miami's coming to town and they have no shot. Or Alabama's coming to town and, man, you just hope the Alabama fans don't take over the stadium type deal. I mean, you're not living in that world now. So maybe you're not like, oh, great, we're going to dominate everybody. Still be happy with the fact where you're at right now and go line up and play. It should be fun.
Get them, Hubs. I love this. Like, I love that you're getting a little feisty because it's the truth. Like, fans, because of Tennessee's success the last 3 years, have forgotten where they were. I mean, you know how many times we sat through games where just like, oh, God. I mean, like, they have no shot going in. Like, this is a disaster. I mean, Tennessee, whether they win at Alabama or Florida for the first time in 20-something years is irrelevant. They can win at Alabama or Florida. Now, will they? That's up to this team, and they got to figure it out and all that. But they can. There were many years where you went down on those games and you knew they couldn't win. Like, they were just showing up to play a game. It's like me going to play a really hard golf course. I'm showing up to make bogeys. Like, I mean, it is what it is. And so this team and this program has gotten to a point where they're going to be functional. And you're right. I mean, look at last year. When you left Fayetteville, Arkansas, after Nico ran out of bounds and you scored basically nothing, who had Tennessee beating Alabama, beating Florida, going to the college football playoff? A bunch of people did not, right? And, every season, is going to have twists and turns. And this team's got some twists and turns in it, and I think there's some excitement to it.
Winning too much creates as much apathy as losing too much creates apathy too. And so don't just get caught up in that and ignore the joys of watching some guys play. I mean, I hope some Tennessee baseball fans, Eric, enjoyed watching Liam Doyle and Fisher. I mean, what Fisher did this year is crazy. Don't let those moments be just flooded or washed away because you got beat in the super regionals or you didn't make it, to the College World Series. I mean, just enjoy the process, which is really hard, but enjoy the journey and not just the end result.
Liam Doyle broke Luke Hochaver's strikeout record. Andrew Fisher, if there was no Christian Moore, and I get there's a Christian Moore, he would have broken Tennessee's home run record.
Yep.
That Moore broke last year, but he beat the old mark with this year's season. I mean, these were special runs by these two kids.
I mean, I think I said it on Tuesday's podcast. I think Andrew Fisher is the most underrated baseball player in the country. I mean, he reached base safely in every single game. I mean, it's insane, man.
I was like, well, it's going to come to an end, and then he just rifles it right off the brick.
Yeah, he hits that home run in the 9th inning in the most lopsided one-run game I think I've ever seen in my life. So many people are mad at me because I think I put, offense outmatched. Well, you're out hit 10-2, and the two hits were home runs, and one didn't come till the 5th inning, the other one came in the 9th inning. That was the most lopsided, one-run loss I've ever seen, but yes. Andrew Fisher comes through in the 9th inning. My point is Andrew Fisher, super underrated. Liam Doyle, phenomenal season, and Andrew Fisher, too, he tied Chase Headley's walk record, which is not sexy, but that was a record that's been in place for 25 years or whatever. So, phenomenal season by those two guys for sure. And it was certainly has some moments. So, I think there's a lot of good points being made. The A-Dog. Has a decision already been made about how the revenue share is going to be split between programs? Is there jockeying, lobbying going on by coaches to increase their share? Yeah. There's there was. It's not here lately, but there was some jockeying for sure.
Everybody needs money. Nobody needs new facilities. They need money, and everybody wants money. Tennessee knows how they're going to split it up. I don't know exactly what that looks like, but that's already been decided. I mean, nobody was like, oh, wow, they did this settlement. We better figure this out. They've been planning on this for a year because rev share was coming July 1 regardless. So, we'll see what it looks like. Obviously, the bulk of it's going to go to football and to basketball.
Jet_3, what's Tony's plans for Beth, the nutritionist, leaving? Brent, to my understanding, there's a sports science nutritional team at UT, and they disperse their guys. I mean, Beth worked also with a couple different sports on campus, not just baseball. So that hire, I would assume, would come from that specific wing of the athletic department. Let's go to Joe Litt. How does Title IX factor into revenue sharing? And maybe I've missed this information somewhere, but how will football roster limits be impacted by the NCAA sanctions? NCAA sanctions have anything to do with the House settlement and all that?
Well, Tennessee's got to finish out their sanctions, and everybody wants to load it up and say, hey, let's do them all in 1 year and be done with it because you're at 105 scholarships. You can't do that. You have to have scholarship reduction every year that you're on the probationary period. So Tennessee will have some. Fans will not feel it, just like you haven't felt it to this point. AP, it doesn't deter the competitiveness of your football team.
Every time Tennessee takes a week off from being able to call recruits, nobody at home knows, right? Yeah. And Tennessee's done it quite a few times. Like it's just not how it works. And so, you don't necessarily feel it, but yeah, I mean, what's going to happen here is that Tennessee will get through these sanctions. And then the NCAA will no longer exist. So they'll set through all this, this stuff for nothing.
Two more questions I want to get into before we leave. And the last one's a really good one that I probably should have hit on earlier. But ETSU Vol wants to know what happened to Jay Abernathy this year. I mean, he's a freshman, a young guy. I thought he certainly had some moments. I would have loved for him to play more. I'm a huge Jay Abernathy fan. I just think Tony, as the year went on, felt like he trusted some guys. Dalton Bargo in left field and in the lineup. And I know the way he ended the season. I get that. It was very bad. We had the numbers in the 3-2-1. Guy also hit over 300 in SEC play this year. So, just felt more comfortable with a veteran there. And you can say the same about why Chris Newtrom didn't play and all that. But Jay Abernathy's going to be a good one. He's got a bright future and some sneaky power, as we saw in the 9th inning of that loss there in Game 2. Last one. Best ribs in Knoxville. I'm not much of a rib guy. Anybody like ribs here? Best ribs in Knoxville?
My dad cooked great ribs before he passed, so those are hard to replicate. I'm not a huge rib guy either. A little bit too hard to eat, right, AP? Too much work, as my father-in-law would say. Too much work to eat them.
That's correct.
So you did not eat crab legs either, then? Too much, because that is some work.
Too much work.
Too much work. Crab legs are good. Last one. What recruit do you guys feel is the biggest miss in the history of the program? I would view this recruit as someone who wanted to come here, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out. And then that recruit went on to be a superstar and to take personally make Tennessee pay for not getting his commitment. So maybe made Tennessee pay in games against Tennessee or whatever. Who's the biggest missed recruit in Tennessee history that comes to mind?
I don't know about history, but in recent deal, I think you got to go back and Tennessee's decision to with Lane Kiffin not to take Taj Boyd at quarterback altered the course of things. Certainly put Clemson on the positive direction of where they were going. Trevor Lawrence
on that one, buddy.
Trevor Lawrence coming in wanted to be at Tennessee. Tennessee was never a factor with Trevor Lawrence with Butch. Trevor Lawrence. Now you can debate where he's at in the NFL, but he was a good college quarterback. There's no doubt about that. So I would probably start with those two for me, Austin.
Yep. I've always used the analogy that Clemson and Tennessee were two big cruise ships. They went into port. Boyd switched ships. Clemson sailed into blue waters, sunshine, and Tennessee sailed into the Bermuda Triangle. And that ended up leading to Trevor Lawrence, which, there's a trickle down off of the decision with Taj Boyd.
Also, some pretty good standout local wide receivers that didn't go to Tennessee.
Sure, T. Higgins and Mark, but receivers. I mean, receivers are receivers. You still got to have somebody give them the ball. Like when you miss on the quarterback spot, and aren't very good at it for a while. There you go.
Yeah. All right, good questions here today. Thank you so much for sending those in, and appreciate you guys for joining us here on the Volquest Mailbag Podcast every Thursday morning right here on the YouTube channel, and of course Volquest.com on the Journalist Quarters as well. If you're listening and watching us, we thank you so much. If you're not a member of Volquest.com, though, you're truly missing out. So much going on right now. We are in recruiting season, official visit season for Tennessee football. So AP and Matt and Brent, they're dropping notes on the board all the time. Transfer portal season for baseball, as you can already see from the first couple of days since they've been back from Fayetteville. It's fast moving. There's a lot of names. It's going to be a lot going on here, so no better place to be dialed into all that and more than over at Volquest.com and on the Journalist Quarters. You can check us out for $1 for your first 7 days. $1 for your first 7 days over at Volquest.com. Thank you guys so much for joining us here. For Austin Price, Brent Hubbs, I am Eric Kane. This has been the Volquest Mailbag Podcast.